Alright, hey guys, this is Monday, April 27th for biology. So what we're going to do today is do section 22.2. I need you to read from page 454 to 458, and then when you're done, you can come back and I will clean it up with you. Alright, so on page 454, this is the design of the eukaryotic cell. There in the italicized words on the right of 454, it said God designed the cell to be composed primarily of four main elements, which are oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen. By mass, about 70% of the cell is water, which is hydrogen and oxygen. The other major substances in the cell are carbohydrates, lipids, nucleic acids, and proteins. All of these substances contain carbon and hydrogen. Many lipids and all carbohydrates also contain oxygen, and all nucleic acids and proteins contain both oxygen and nitrogen. Other elements that are common in cells include sodium, magnesium, phosphorus, sulfur, chlorine, potassium, and calcium. You may recall biologists recognize three main parts of every cell in plants, animals, and man. You have the cell membrane, which is the outer boundary layer. Then you have the cytoplasm, which serves as the fluid medium for many molecules and organelles. Then you have the nucleus, which is a spherical body often located near the center of the cell. And so it goes into a little bit more detail there, but you need to know those three. Page 455, the importance of the cell membrane. The contents of human and animal cells are separated from the outside environment by a very thin, flexible barrier called the cell membrane. The cell membrane is a vital component of the cell, for through it go all the substances that enter or leave the cell. The regulation of this flow of materials requires a masterful design, for within the borders of the cell membrane operate the most complicated processes in creation. A cell membrane is composed of a special lipid molecule called phospholipids. These are a small amount of cholesterol added to them to maintain the desired flexibility. These molecules cluster back to back, forming a two-layered structure referred to as a lipid bilayer. Embedded in the membrane are various membrane proteins that carry out important functions. All right, skipping along, we have the membrane skeleton on 455 to the right. It says beneath the phospholipid bilayer of the cell membrane is a network of flexible reinforcement fibers called the membrane skeleton. The fibers of the membrane skeleton of red blood cells, for instance, are made from a strong cable-like protein called spectrin. Many of the spectrin reinforcement fibers are attached to actin filaments, similar to those in the microfibrils of the muscle cells. Next, we have the machinery of the cell. The cell membrane is a semi-permeable membrane, allowing water and some small molecules to cross freely through it. However, to be transported across cell membrane, most of the larger molecules need special membrane proteins. Ion pumps, such as sodium, potassium, calcium, and hydrogen, are pumped into or out of the cell in order to preserve the right ion balance. Some proteins serve as portals and others as gates. Next, we have page 456. The cell wall. Outside of the cell membrane, plant and cell manufacture a rigid box-like structure called the cell wall. This layer stifles the cell, allowing a plant to stand upright even though it lacks a skeleton. Skipping down, we have cytoplasm. Within the cell membrane is a jelly-like fluid known as cytoplasm. The cytoplasm contains an extraordinary diversity of organelles, or little organs. Most activities of life occur within the cytoplasm and its organelles. Molecules, proteins, lipids, and carbohydrates abound and act as either raw materials for the manufacture of cell parts and cell products, or items for export to be packaged and delivered. Large protein molecules called enzymes are found both in the cytoplasm and in the organelles. Next, we have the skeleton of the cell, a cellular framework. You have the cytoskeleton. God designed the cell with an intricate internal skeleton called the cytoskeleton, which helps maintain its shape. The cytoskeleton of a cell is composed primarily of microtubules, which are hollow rod-like filaments posed as protein called tubulin. On page 457, flipping through, we have a mass transit system. You can read through that. The microtubule organizing center. I'm going to skip down to the centrosome. The microtubule organizing center is located near the nucleus at the center of the cell. The centrosome contains the centrioles, a pair of cylindrical structures made of tubulin. They play an important role in cell movement and division. Creeping cells, you have the amoeba, which is a well-known protozoan. Then you have on page 457, you have the mitochondria, which is the power plants of a cell. Mitochondria oxidize or burns carbohydrate and fats and uses the energy to produce ATP. And then it kind of goes through a little bit and shows you a little bit about the mitochondria. And we will stop. We'll go ahead and do page 458 as well. 458, you have most mammal cells contain between 1,000 and 2,000 mitochondria. Although a primary purpose of mitochondria is the production of ATP for energy, it can also export some of the intermediate byproducts to the rest of the cell for raw materials. Skipping down into the mitochondrial generators, it says the most important molecular machines in a mitochondrion are the ATP synthase, which are embedded in the mitochondria's inner membrane. And it says the mitochondrion generates power in the form of ATP by breaking down food molecules and using the energy to pump positively charged hydrogen ions from the matrix of the mitochondrion into the intramembrane. And so then it just kind of talks you through the process of the ATP synthase. And I will stop there for today, and we will pick up tomorrow. And so we'll just stop there for the reading. We'll have any questions to do, we'll pick up there tomorrow.